Welcome back, everyone, to another Draftstars update. We're going to be going through the Sunday games in this one. So we have the two clashes between Roosters and Warriors and the Dragons and Knights. And in terms of this one here, you'd expect a little bit of an advantage for the Roosters players. So, we'll speak about some of the outside backs in this one. And then the Dragons v the Knights, I think, is going to be fairly close. So, keep that in mind when you're making your selections this week. But in the outside backs, we have a couple of options at the more expensive price. Again, depends on if you're going to play these games individually or, the double here. But you got Tedesco, who's been solid without being spectacular. He could go nuts this week. He also couldn't, as well. At averaging 41, he's going to make or break your round if he goes pretty poorly. So up to you if you want to select him. But I personally, if you're going through this selection here, would be going for Joey Manu, who's been playing really well as of late at 14,730. And then possibly the Matt Fay guy as well. So he's at 11,110, coming off a 32 and also a 55 in that outside back. So I think he could have a decent game up against the Newcastle Knights as well this week. So they're two good, really good options there. And then Jesse Arthur's at 10,800. So yes, he's up against the Roosters, but that right side for the Warriors is where the points are being scored. And he's got a single try and a double over the last two games and averaging 50, hitting a 51 and a 64. So at that price point, if he manages to score a try again and continues to defend well like he has been, then he could be a really good option for your squad. So they're the three I'd look at a cheaper price point. And then potentially some other guys. Ponga's getting really cheap, for example, at 14,240, but I personally would be staying away until we see some upside with him. And then you got Reece Walsh, but again, I think he's going to be nullified a little bit up against the Roosters this week. So that's my thoughts on that one. If you're looking to the halves and the hookers here, I'd probably steer clear personally of the Keary and Johnson. Like Johnson's been solid, but does he have a super amount of upside against the Roosters? I don't think so. I'm expecting more of like that 46-47 that he got in those first few games. And it's a bit of a strange one, this halves hooker. You got a little bit of value in Chris Randall, for example, averaging 48. And he's been really solid each and every week. A few scores between 38 and 42. And a couple of games there where he's had a lot of tackles. So I think this one could be fairly close. And he should be able to get some big tackle numbers. So Randall would be a decent option. Verrills plays his first game for the year, which means we're not exactly sure what he's going to get. Is he going to get 50 minutes? Is he going to get 60? If he didn't have Connor Watson on the bench, I'd select him as a pretty good option. But I think just holding off on Verrills could be a smart one this week. And just watch how he plays and go from there. Sammy Walker, I think at 13,480 would be a decent option for your side. He's had two really good games, a 53 and a 58 there, and I think he would be able to produce something fairly similar against the Warriors and sort of make or break your day there. And I think this is a better option for you and your team this week, is to go that Walker route. I think he can have a decent one this week. Clune is in there at cheap at 9,000 again. So coming off that bit of a knee injury, I haven't heard anything during the week with him. He was super consistent before that, so I think you can run the gauntlet with him again and give him another chance. So that's that in the halves hooker side. Not as exciting as the video before with got DCE and Harry Grant, Munster, and Nico Hines and all those boys. So that's that. If we move to the forwards, there's a couple of guys up top that I think are great options for your side in Frizzell and also Joshy Curran. Obviously, he comes up against the Roosters, but I'm expecting a bigger game from him. Lots of more tackles and stuff like that. So, might not get the attacking stats, but you should be getting a 50 in base from Curran with some, definitely always some opportunities for some attacking stats. Frizzell's a little bit different. He always has that base, and he has that opportunity this week after two light ones, I think, to get back to those first three scores that he had and potentially get a try on that right edge for the Knights. So that's those two. And I would move down a fair bit lower this week. Victor Radley's had a couple of really nice weeks. Can he do it again? He's getting a little bit more expensive now. So I personally think that the value isn't really there. If he's going to get somewhere around that 40 mark, anywhere up to even 50 if he's lucky, yes, there's a little bit of value up there, but I just feel like there's an opportunity, more of a chance of him getting around the 40 mark rather than going up that little bit higher. Ewan Aiken's been a little bit underwhelming apart from the first and the last game. So if you get somewhere near that 40 mark again, you've kind of missed out on some value. So I think a little bit lower, and guys like Kurt Mann, he just got moved around too much last week. And if you can get back to that 54, anywhere around that 50 mark this week at 15,900, there's definitely a bit of value there. If we're looking down a little bit lower, Satili Tupanua and also Jaden Sewer are both really good options there. So Sewer's coming off, a low of 36, generally around the 40 mark, and a 57 last week. So I think you can do something similar to that 45-50 this week. up against the Knights, and Tupanua comes up against Warriors team that does let a few tries in, and he could potentially be a beneficiary of a nice short ball through the line to get over the stripe. So Tupanua, 12,450. He's never really going to let you down completely. Even if he gets to mid-30s, it's like, oh, it's okay. It doesn't hurt me too much. So that's that with Tupanua. And then just that last one, that little bit cheaper, is Brodie Jones at 11,750. Played the 80 last week, moved around from the second row to the centres, but did solidly and got you a 41. So if he can get anywhere near that again, you're going to be really happy with that, and you could use that money a little bit elsewhere. So that's about all, guys. Like, we had Bailey Sirenen last week who started. He scored solidly, but before that, now not as much. They've got Eli Katoa, who's probably going to take some minutes off him on the bench, so I'm not expecting a massive score from Bailey Sirenen. And then anything a little bit lower, we've got Leo Thompson there, but he hasn't been living up to what he was scoring in those first few weeks. So I think we can hold off there on those guys. And you've got a few guys in that mid-tier in the forwards that you could select and probably go a little bit cheaper in maybe the half hooker. Or you could go a little bit cheaper, like I spoke about, in the outside backs there with some decent options. A little bit lower. And obviously, sorry, I forgot to mention Daniel Tupou as well at 10,860, who's been super consistent, with that low score of 31 and a 17. And those middle games, they've been really consistent. So those are the tips, guys, for the Sunday games. I hope that that really helps you, and we'll catch you in the next video.